Hello?
Sorry, that's my dog barking at the leaf blower guy.
Well, I don't blame you. My dog goes crazy when the lawn people come.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them. 2 of them bark at the leaf blowers, and the other barks at the other 2.
Well, that way they're all in chorus.
Thank y'all for your patience. We've got Alan, I think, should be joining, and we're trying to get a hold of one more. So just want to say thanks, and we'll give you an update here pretty quick.
Did we have to wake Alan up? What's the deal?
What's that?
Did we have to wake Alan up?
I hope not.
How many more do we need?
2 more. I called Mr. Khan and he did not answer.
How about Laura Richard?
Cam and I are coordinating on some additional phone calls.
Okay.
But Mr. Khan said he would be here. So that's why I started with him first.
Okay. Be good.
Don, this is Ahmad. If I may, just want to let you know that Commissioner Emergent is finalizing an appointment. He had to go through interview process with a lot of potential folks, and we're narrowing it down. So again, I want to also thank the TERS 1 for y'all's patience, and we will be having an appointment for the next one, for the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
at this point, we have still, let me see who's WJ Interests?
That's
This long one.
Jared.
Jared,
Jared,
apologize.
Alan's having technical difficulties. Like I've just resent the appointment to him. He said kept telling him it was invalid. So
Okay. If
That
Alan
happened
can
to
log on,
me.
We will have a quorum, but other than that, I have not been able to reach Mr. Khan, Ms. Richard, and
and did you say you had got Alan out of bed?
I'm calling him. He was having technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
We have Alan just came in right now.
Okay, so if Alan, if everybody will sound off, we'll find out who we got.
Mal Lusky,
Okay, Mel,
Jared Jameson.
Jared, okay. Robert, you checked in earlier. Alan, are you there yet?
Yes, sir.
Oh, all right, all right.
Sorry about that.
No, I understand your technical difficulties.
Well, or some kind of difficulty.
Thank you for joining, Alan.
Yes. Well, you shouldn't be having to thank me for doing my job. Sorry.
I told them they had to wake you up, but that's.
No, hush, Don. Don't tell them the truth. This retirement's getting to me, dude.
I know, I can tell. Okay, well, we've got 5 people then. So that being the case, we can call the meeting to order. I guess the first item on the agenda would be consider the minutes of the September 4th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Actually, Chair, once you call to order, public comment is next.
Who is that?
1 second.
Okay,
okay, a second.
and Jared seconded it.
Sure.
There's a public comment. Some language read.
Second it, we need it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Chair, can everyone hear me?
Chairman Smithers, I think you need to read the public comment.
Okay,
Tia, is that correct?
Let's see if I can find it here.
Yeah, sorry, she's having trouble with her mic right now.
Okay.
It's on the screen. Can you see the screen?
Oh, okay. Citizens who desire to address the city council, board, and/or commissions regarding matters on the agenda will be read and/or received at this time. Members of the public desiring to make comments during this portion of the meeting will be allowed to submit their comments as outlined above to the office of the city secretary. Written email comments and/or requests to participate during this portion of the meeting must be received by 3 p.m. on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. The city of Sugar Land reserves the right to remove any written email comments deemed inappropriate as outlined above and/or not related to matters posted on the agenda. Comments or discussion by the city council, board, and/or commission members will only be made at the time the subject is scheduled for consideration.
Mr. Smithers, we did not have anyone.
Okay, good. So we can move on then.
Chair, may you please please redo the minutes, please, thank you.
We need to approve them again, you say?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
still move.
Who's that made the motion?
I made the original motion, that's Robert, motion
Okay,
made.
Robert, and it was seconded by Jared. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So that took care of that. All right. Moving right on. I don't know. I printed this off, but I don't know. Okay. I guess the next item is this contract with Reeves Services for $100,000 for holiday activations in Town Square Plaza and a budget amendment in the amount of $100,000 from fund balance.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead and take that if you're comfortable with that.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to do the presentation if you're comfortable moving forward with that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Great. So first, thank you all for your time this morning. We have something before us today. It's an opportunity that staff felt wanted to bring to you as a board for consideration. If you will recall, back at our September board discussion, we had, there was direction from the board or questions from the board about what the city was doing and how the city was supporting the town square retailers and restaurateurs and the hotel through the impacts of COVID-19. At that point, we talked through our Sweetie Cash program that was an ongoing program that provided support to a number of businesses directly in town square. But we also felt some direction or some insistence that we continue to identify opportunities to support the businesses that make up First One. And so what we have before us today is a proposal from our partner here in Town Square, Reeves, who is a partner with Lionstone, the private owner of much of the development in Town Square. And they are responsible for placemaking and tenant leasing in Town Square for retail and restaurant tenants. And so they have brought us a proposal that we'll talk through. I'm going to give an overview of what we'll talk about in this presentation. So first I'm going to review some of the direction that we will see, and then Reeves is going to overview their proposed holiday activation. They will give us an overview of the technology that's already been developed and placed in Town Square. And then after they have talked through that, we will discuss the contract and budget amendment proposals. And then staff will make their recommendation on how to move forward. But in addition to the direction that and the conversation we received from the board at our September 1st meeting, staff also received direction from City Council in the form of a September retreat they provided the direction for us to find innovative opportunities to showcase Sugar Land writ large, so across the city, as we go through and come out of this pandemic. We were hopeful back in September that we would be a little bit more open by Christmas time, but as we all know, that has not been the case. In any event, Parks and Recreation, the funding that we provide to them, has prepared for virtual and in-person events in Town Square as part of their revamped 12 Days of Christmas programming. And so they have understood that they need to pivot some to in virtual events, some combination of virtual and in-person events, which allow them to maintain social distancing. And the proposal that we have today is along those same lines. So a little bit of background on our partners in this. Reeves, as I mentioned, is the placemaking and leasing partner for the private property owner Limestone. And they are teaming up with the Flight School Studio, who we have some staff members from Flight School as well on this call. And they brought this proposal for the holiday activation to us back in October. And we have worked since then to identify how we, as a city, could best partner with them and support this work. You should have received, and a number of you responded to me that you did receive it, found it interesting, the FYI memorandum that was sent out, I believe in early November, that overviewed at a very high level the proposal. And we see at staff level, we see this as an opportunity to, and we're already seeing results from the early efforts on this project, to set Town Square and the TERS 1 area apart within our greater Houston region as far as how we have adapted to COVID-19 as it impacts holiday celebrations. And as we move into the presentation, I'm about to turn it over to Reeves to talk through their proposal more in depth. But please do keep in mind that TERS funds are the most restricted funding source we have available at the city and for this area partnership with the city and the county. They are allowed to be used only for activations and infrastructure development within the TERS district. So this is one of the reasons that we have brought this to the TERS board for consideration is that this is an eligible use for the project plan and for our now 20 years of history operating this TERS. This is an eligible expense and would utilize, if approved, the most restricted funding source that is available to fund something along these lines. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I believe, Fallon. Are you going to take the Reeves presentation from here for a couple of slides and talk through some of the technology and the scope of the proposal that's being made?
Yeah, I'd be glad to kick things off. First off, thanks so much everybody for your time this morning and consideration in the funding for this project. And I have a couple of members here on the Flight School Studio team with me to speak to their perspective on kind of the innovation behind this project as well. We have Taylor and Brandon, and I'm Fallon Johnson, the Director of Marketing with the Reeves team, who, as Cam mentioned, is helping with the repositioning of Town Square.
Okay.
You may have to direct when you're ready to move to the next slide.
All right, yeah, ready to move to the initial slide.
Okay.
So the idea for this kind of came about back in September when we were talking to Lionstone and the PCD team about what we were doing from a holiday perspective on the square, given the COVID circumstances. We had spoken about the tree lighting ceremony that draws in tens of thousands, it sounds like, annually every year, as well as Santa who comes to the square every weekend during December. And we were thinking, wow, that's such a bummer. We really can't pull that off this year, but what can we do that would be not only a substitute, but something that's potentially even bigger and better and cooler than things that we've done in the past. That would be kind of a new way to experience the holidays and a new way to experience the tradition of speaking with Santa. So we have been working with the Flight School Studio team on a concept they're actually bringing to the square in 2021 called The Parlor at the former Z Gallery space. And they are an award-winning, amazing team, and they can invent just about any cool experience. So we kind of came to them with this problem of sorts. What can we do that's a cool new experience to bring to the square that really positions Sugar Land as not only a destination, but as a square in a city that's is future forward thinking and is wanting to do something really cool for the city. and the region at large. So we came to them with that idea, and they came up with Santa's Magisphere. So we can head to the next slide for the overview video.
That's pretty neat.
Santa land Texas an amazing gift. So what do you do when it's 2020 and you still need to have Santa come visit all the good boys and girls of the world? Well, that was the challenge in front of flight school, and this is what we created. Hey, what's up, Santa?
Oh, hello, Brandon. How are you?
You snuck up on me.
I thought I'd scare you.
So Santa, you're able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
All the way up at the North Pole?
All the way up here.
So sometimes we have a little bit of snow interference, but that's intentional, because this is a snow globe communicator.
Yes.
Yes. So the elves taught you how to unmute, I noticed.
Yes, it is a complicated process, but it involves me using my fat fingers to twist the knob so you can hear me. Would you all like to take a picture with me, or a selfie, whatever you like? Go ahead and put me on your Snapchat. Here we are. On 3, say TikTok. 1, 2, 3, TikTok. Merry Christmas.
Can you back off the mic just a tad? We're getting a little bit of crunch.
And we can move to the next slide when you're ready. Cool. So as I mentioned, we have Taylor Williams and Brandon Oldenburg from the Flight School Studio team, who were both featured in that video here. I'll let them introduce themselves and speak a little bit more to the concept and the technology that allowed them to put Santa inside a giant snow globe.
Thank you for your time. My name is Brandon Oldenburg. I'm the Chief Creative Officer here at Flight School Studios. And the next few slides, you're going to see some of the early conceptual concepts that went behind this project that we created for you all.
And I'm Taylor Williams. I'm the executive producer at Flight School, and I worked with Brandon to put the technology together and make all this happen. So, Brandon, do you want to kind of walk through what's happening and how it's all working?
Certainly, yeah. Our studio specializes in storytelling and uses any and every type of technology to help enforce that path that we are on as a company. So we love to use emerging technology. And what we're using here is not unlike what the young kids are using these days with Snapchat and Instagram filters, but it's just that on steroids. So think of a Zoom call, but think of it through giant snow globes. And we use facial capture technology that's real time. We have over there at Sugarland a wire that's crossing the street into, I think, what was a bank. It's an empty building at the moment, and we're base camped there with our technology and our actors. We've been able to employ 4 local actors who are normally out of work this time of year, unfortunately, because of COVID. But we were able to employ them, and they have shifts, and some of them come from all different walks. One runs the School of Rock in multiple locations in the city. The other is one of the others is a high school teacher. What's really great is that their influences in the community and their community that they have around their own work draws talent and draws people to Sugarland just through their influences through social media. But at the same time, we dared to try to think of a Santa experience that was different than anything else that's being done. We didn't want to put just a regular old Santa up on a chair and then put a sheet of plexiglass between you and him. We wanted to really find a unique, exciting way to interface with Santa Claus this year. So we like taking lemons and turning them into lemonade. Taylor, do you want to add anything?
I think that's a pretty good overview. It's been really spectacular to watch all of the families come in, one family in the box at a time, and have a chance to not just sit on Santa's knee and take a picture, but actually engage in a really magical way. It's been really fun to be in with our actor and watch as people kind of realize, oh, this isn't canned animation. This isn't Santa just playing a pre-recorded message. I'm actually able to engage with him. And that's been really, really special and magical. There have been more than a few groups come in very skeptical and, oh, I'm too cool for Santa Claus, and then come out with giant smiles on their faces at the other side.
It was really important that this be a free experience too. And one thing that we've taken note of in the past, from my own personal experience with my children, sometimes these Santa experiences want to monetize the situation and charge you for these for photographs. But everybody's got a great camera in their pocket these days and can extend the reach of what you're doing to the world through social media. We wanted to play into that. So we encourage at the end of the experience for people to share and take selfies with Santa, and knowing that they are going to do that probably anyway. So we wanted to lean in on that and didn't want to charge anybody for this experience.
I've been so impressed by the Flight School studio team. To give you guys a little bit of perspective on timeline, we kind of recognized this opportunity in September, decided to kick it off in October, and they turned it around in about 4.5 weeks between the technology and the concept and the structure itself. So it's been really awesome to see it come to life. And when I was just one quick little story, when I was on the square last weekend, for the media day, or last week for the media day on Wednesday, we had a couple people who were on the square entering with their families, and one little girl exited and she was crying, and I thought, oh my gosh, oh no, was she scared by it? What happened? Was asking her for some of her feedback, and she said she was crying because Santa went away and the experience was over. So I think that's a really good sign that people are enjoying it.
That's good. I was worried she had forgotten to ask for the Red Ryder BB gun. All
right, I think we're ready to move on to the next slide. All right, so when we were thinking of doing this activation, of course, we were thinking COVID was #1 priority. How can we make this safe and still exciting? So a couple of the precautions that we've implemented are just the fact that this is an outdoor contactless experience. People are able to experience Santa without having to touch really anything at all. And this box is placed outside on the plaza. We have an online reservation and digital queuing system, meaning you're able to book your visit to see Santa in advance. As well as if you want to walk up and make an appointment to see Santa, you can do so on site, and we'll send you a text via the platform we're using to let you know when it's time for your visit. So there's no need to queue in person. We're allowing no more than 10 family members visiting Santa at a time. Right now we're seeing about 3 to 4 family members entering at a time together, so all safe in that regard. Face masks are required upon entry and exit areas, and we have hand sanitizers stationed at both of those areas as well. It hasn't been an issue yet, but we are enforcing social distancing, so 6 feet apart, and all of these safety protocols above are highlighted both on site with signage and our websites.
Yeah, and I'll just say, from being out there running the experience for the last several days, it's really an ideal site for this because the way the picnic tables are set up, they're already plenty of distance in between them. We've been grouping people around those tables and then bringing them in one at a time, and nobody at all has given us any pushback yet about masks. We've got signs up on the pillars saying face masks are required. And anybody that's walked up not wearing a face mask, we more often than not, they see the signs that go, oh shoot, and pull a mask out rather than the staff even having to say anything. So it's all been really smooth, knock on wood. I'm sure that we'll have somebody who doesn't want to wear one at some point, but it's been great thus far. We are plowing through hand sanitizer though.
I'll bet.
Should we go to the next slide, Colin?
Yep. Okay, opening weekend performance. We had a strong opening weekend despite the crazy rain Friday and Saturday last week. We were really excited headed into the weekend. We had sold out, almost sold out of reservations online. Of course, that doesn't account for the spaces that we had allowed for in-person digital queuing and walk-ups. We saw about 700 people through the weekend, so 200 to 300 a day, despite the weather, which is great. And as I mentioned before, we're seeing on average about 3 to 4 people enter Santa's Magisphere at a time. I think that's about it in terms of the performance review on opening weekend that I can share. But a couple things that I did want to mention that we're gathering as folks enter and exit are information, zip code information, whether they're booking online or in person. We're starting to gather zip code information or city where they're from, so we're able to tell where these people are visiting Santa's Magisphere from. We're also gathering sentiment, so anything that our staff hears on site about what people thought of the experience, as well as our social monitoring tool that allows us to measure sentiment on web. So we're counting that as performance in addition to traffic through Santa's Magisphere.
Well, personally, I'm very impressed with what you've done.
Thank you. We're really excited to hear that.
I not being on top of things, but I would think that we're probably once again kind of the forerunner on all the surrounding area as far as doing something unique.
We had somebody from Houston Chronicle, Emma, who's an editor, on site on Wednesday, and we were chatting with her after she had gone through the experience and seen the tech behind it, and we asked her if she's seen anything like this because she was doing an article on kind of all of these alternative Santa holiday experiences, and she said nothing quite as cool and innovative as this. I think she's seen a lot of plexiglass and a lot of different ways, kind of substitutes for Santa, but nothing quite as new and exciting as this. So that was really cool to hear from her.
Yeah, we've been watching all of the different recaps of the best Santa responses to COVID nationally, and I would go so far as to say that this is one of the most innovative ways to greet Santa nationally, not just regionally.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty good press on it, so congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Once again, Sugar Land seems to be setting the bar pretty high for all these other cities.
Undoubtedly.
That's because we're the best.
That's right.
So what are the hours for this? And then how long is each appointment when the families go in?
Sure. So we're closed on Mondays right now. The hours that we've initially laid out are Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., closed on Mondays, Tuesday through Thursday, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., so after school, and then Friday, noon to 9 p.m. That's something that we're monitoring. For example, last Sunday, there were a lot more people in the plaza at 5 p.m. when we were starting to shut down than we had anticipated. So we went ahead and kept it open for a little bit longer. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to the traffic flows and to the patterns that are naturally there, and responding to that. So those are the hours that we have right now. I do anticipate that we'll tweak them a little bit over the coming weeks.
And my second question was, how long do people, when they go in, how long are they in for?
It's about 3 minutes. There's a little bit of play there, depending on the conversation that they're having. If we're slow and somebody's having a really wonderful time, then we'll let Santa go ahead and riff a little bit more and draw it out a little bit. If there's a long line, then we're being pretty good at turning it over every 3 minutes to make sure that we can get people through.
Very good. Any other questions?
I think we're ready.
Yes, Don, this is Alan.
Yeah.
Wanted to see if staff could, and we can wait if you want to ask this question later, just the relationship between this request and the existing contractual relationship that we have with providing funds for activities in the square.
Yes, I have a few wrap-up slides after Reeves is able to
Okay.
go through the concept.
We can talk
that kind of
about that later
outlines the
then.
budget and the impact and those changes. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving right
We'll jump
along.
back into the, I want to hear Fallon talk about the media coverage that we've already started receiving.
Sure. Yeah, we've seen some pretty awesome coverage so far, above and beyond kind of what we had expected for just this initial week here. So we're really excited about that. A couple of the highlights that we have so far, Texas Monthly actually covered us this week in a roundup of Texas cities to visit and experiences to visit during the holidays. So that was pretty awesome. You can, if you guys see this presentation afterward, you can click through to see that there. We had a really great Houston Life broadcast segment in addition to about 20 others, which was really cool. But Houston Life, I think, was my favorite segment so far. As I mentioned, Houston Chronicle, Cron, and then plenty of other placements in Sugar Land, Missouri City, Fort Bend. And we even saw some broadcast coverage in San Antonio, Austin, and Corpus Christi.
Wow.
We're hoping as well, just as a side note, one of our goals was to get some national coverage here. So we're anticipating that for December and working hard on our end with our PR partners to kind of hone in on that tech angle and hopefully get some national coverage as well.
Great.
So more to come. All right, Cam, I think we can move on to the next slide. So one of the things that we wanted to do is engage the retailers on the square and all of the exciting things that are happening between this and the 12 Days of Christmas events that we have. We want to really make sure that this experience is positive for them and they're able to kind of engage this increased foot traffic and hopefully new foot traffic to the square. One thing that we didn't want to do was ask them to provide promotions and discounts. Some of them voluntarily did, but the thought to engage the visitors to the square and with our retailers was to create this kind of bingo card scavenger hunt. So what you would do is at any of the participating retailers, including Santa's Magisphere, you would pick up this bingo card that they'll give you and you explore the square. So a couple of the examples are as simple as snap a photo in front of the Christmas tree on the plaza and tag Sugarland Town Square. To, what's another example? Mention code word peppermint for a sweet surprise at Kilwins. So they're kind of these just simple, easy ways to go around and engage with the square and the retailers themselves. Once you complete bingo, you can email your card, a picture of your card, or direct message it to us on social media, and you'll be entered to win a gift package, which we'll be featuring on social media from any of the participating retailers, as well as some additional ones.
Good idea.
Thanks. Then we can head to the next slide for some details on the Marriott offer. Great. So we've worked with Marriott on a Santa's Magisphere special. I know he had mentioned, Steve had mentioned that he met with a few of the city members a couple of weeks ago and was excited to chat about this. The rate that they're offering is 30% off of their typical rate, so it's $79 a night. By booking the Meet Santa package. You'll receive priority access to Santa's Magisphere. So the Marriott team will be working with us to send us any names of people who have been booking so we can keep an eye on that. And they also will receive a special gift package in their room. So trying to create a really exciting experience for anybody who's visiting the square, kind of treating Sugarland as a destination for the holidays between this, as well as our 12 Days of Christmas events and the other exciting things that you'll see going on the next slide. But yes, and then we're planning on some follow-on regional press to highlight that drive to the square. And then here's just kind of a little overview of some other holiday happenings. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the great holiday shop by Executive Baskets that was in that formerly vacant space adjacent to the square. Some exciting news from them is that they've seen some great traffic and are almost sold out of Christmas trees their first 2 weeks on the square. So people are loving that. We have strolling carolers and carriages that Taylor with PCD has coordinated. The city is, of course, putting on their awesome 12 Days of Christmas events, both virtually and in person. Taylor has some other holiday plaza events planned, particularly some exciting musical events and dance showcases. And just as a note, we also have a holiday page on the new sugarlandtownsquare.com, which I encourage everybody to go and visit. It features our new branding, which we're beginning to roll out now and will be fully live come the new year. And I believe that's all I have for you guys today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Flight School and Ruby's for that information. And I'll ask you to just hold on until we can reach the end of these last few slides in case there are additional questions from the board. So we will move into sort of talking about what the what's in it for the contract, what's in the contract, and how this proposed contract will benefit not only the TERS board but also the city as well. So as Fallon mentioned, they have a number of engagements planned for the retailers, restaurants, and the Marriott. If you had a chance to review the draft or the contract document prior to the meeting, you'll notice the last page has a list of these performance metrics that we do anticipate being reached before payment under this proposed contract is made. And so the first section of that is listing of the engagement of retailers, restaurants, and the Marriott. Fallon's already gone over these items. In addition, we also requested to be included the creation and sharing of data related to the activation that will help not only Reeves and their team understand the impact that they're having, but also help city staff understand, really get a more nuanced vision of who we're reaching and who is being brought into the square during the holiday season. And that will both inform decisions that we make in the future, as well as provide valuable information to our tourism team and other departments that are really trying to target getting people into the Marriott, getting people into the square. So the Fallon has presented to us a preliminary press plan, which included, as she mentioned, some efforts to generate national press for the activation. And they will also be presenting to us, after the activation is complete, a recap of all the press that has been received, they've been able to capture through this activation. She also mentioned the sentiment measurement report so that we can understand how people were engaging with the activation itself and the other engagements that were going on, as well as home zip code data for the attendees. Again, that's really going to help us understand where we're pulling from and who we're bringing into the square for the holiday season. And then finally, similar to the number of attendees that we would typically expect on the tree lighting ceremony, they have committed to attracting 10,000 attendees to the program over the course of the month plus that it's activated. They've already started making headway on that, despite the rain that was present on Friday and Saturday. And as they mentioned, they have extended hours to ensure that they're able to meet this metric. Next slide. Moving into the more technical side of things, in addition, if the contract is approved, we will also need to, at the same time, make a formal budget amendment to accommodate for this funding coming out. You will see the change in the budget, and I've got a breakdown of the expenditures on the next slide, but you'll see the change here under the operating expenditures. This $100,000 would come out of essentially our fund balance for the TERS. In fiscal year 21, we budgeted $127,000 in the fund balance, so there is ample room in the budget to cover this singular activation. But if you go to the next slide, this change would not be at the expense of the other other contracts that we have approved already as a board to fund for fiscal year 21. Again, we did, staff identified that the fund balance was sufficient to cover this request. And so we anticipate still funding at full level the Town Square POA events contract, as well as the Plaza events that's transferred to the general fund for the City Parks and Recreation Department to put on events, which that funding is being used for a significant portion of the virtual and in-person events that Parks and Recreation is undertaking. Again, this does not it does not impact the assignments that we make to the two economic development corporations as part of our primary obligation of this TERS to pay down those assignments. And so it is something that can be funded in the current anticipated revenues, with the current anticipated revenues coming solely out of the fund balance. At this point in time, next slide, please. At this point in time, staff does recommend approval of the contract with Reeves for the holiday activation and the amendment to fiscal year 2021 budget to fund that contract out of the fund balance. I'll be glad to take any questions you have for staff procedurally, and if we have more questions on the activation itself, I'd be glad to direct those to Reeves and the Flight School as well.
Thank you. I have a motion to accept these changes to our budget and to approve this.
I have I'll make the motion, but I have a question I want to ask.
Okay, Mr. Bogard made the motion. Do I have a second?
Alan, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Of course. I thought we'd go ahead, if we get the motion on the floor, and then go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Jared Jameson.
By Mal.
Okay. If Cam, if you could help me understand the relationship between this request and the $250,000 existing annual contract, and how do we know that we're getting our fair share for what we're already paying, particularly in the period of reduced activities? Isn't there some savings that has been achieved by the $250,000 that we already pay for activities that haven't been held this year because everything's been canceled? That's the point I would like you to address.
Yes, sir. That's a great question. And if you'll recall from the September presentation, when Taylor with PCD and Wendy were discussing their activities, they did not anticipate a reduction in the amount of expenditures they would be making under that contract. They anticipated a shifting of, that may have been the June meeting. Maybe their code runs together. They are anticipating shifting those activities to do more support for virtual events that are happening in the square. They are also a portion of their efforts under that contract is also going to be in support, continue to be in support of their holiday activations here during this time. One thing we did not cover is the overall budget for this project. This project has an approximately $250,000 budget. PCD is using a portion of their contract dollars from us to fund a component of that. I believe it's on the order of around $17,000 that they're funding out of their budget to support the other activities around this holiday activation. So We are not seeing any savings, quote unquote savings, from the other existing contract, but we are continuing to see efforts from PCD to support activations on the square as it's safe and appropriate to do so.
Okay, and this is not going to be interpreted as a ongoing increase expected
No, sir.
in the future.
Correct.
In other words,
that
that
is-
we're actually buying something extra.
It's a one-time deal, right?
Correct. That is how this is structured. We see the potential for this activation to become a more recurring part of the town square activities. But if that is the case, there is no expectation at this time that the TERS would be liable to pay for it. And in fact, just looking at how our budget would be situated for FY22, I'm not certain how we would be able to fit that in, given the fact that we were only able to do this from the TERS this time due to the fact that we had a built-up fund balance.
Mr. Chair, that's the only question I had. I just wanted to clarify future expectations. Thank you, sir.
That was a good question, Alan.
I
Okay,
have one question. Also, so I assume that, well, we haven't approved the contract yet, but I assume that there's been a lot of cost going into this so far. So what happens if we don't approve the contract?
Yes, Reeves was under the expectation that they would be funding the activation completely with the potential, based on your approval, tentatively upon your approval of the contract, that there would be a reimbursement, again, upon reaching the performance metrics that we laid out, that they would be reimbursed for up to $100,000 of their already expended expenses. They understood that the timing of needing to get the project implemented and the timing of how often this board meets was not going to guarantee that there would be approval of this or denial of this proposed contract prior to having to expend a large portion of those funds. But that is from our staff conversations with them, that was a risk they were willing to undergo.
that answered your question, Robert.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor, please vote.
Aye. That's Alan.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that's it. Jared, Mal, myself. Okay. So it passed. Thank you. Next item.
Yes, sir. We do have one more agenda item that I will run through briefly. This is an annual requirement of the TERS board, is to recommend an annual report for the previous fiscal year, the fiscal year 2020, to the city council, mayor and city council for approval, and then forwarding from there to the state comptroller for meeting the state requirements of a TERS. So I'll run through some of the perfunctory portion of the first part quickly, and then we can talk briefly about the contents of the report. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, so this is, again, it's a requirement of the state Texas Tax Code, Chapter 311, and upon approval by City Council and forwarding to the comptroller, we will also send the approved document to all of the taxing entities within the TERS district. Next slide. Again, you're familiar with the TERS. We've been having this conversation for about 20 years now. We have a $5.5 million base value in the TERS, and the city, county, and the LID all participate in contributing tax increment. Next slide. Actually, go forward 2 slides. We'll talk about the amount and source of revenue. So in fiscal year 2020, we received a little over $1.7 million in total revenues from all three of the taxing entities and about a $1,700 interest income. Next slide. From that income, we dedicated and expended a little over $1.4 million to the 2 economic development corporations. Again, you'll see $250,000 standing contract with PCD or with the POA for the Plaza events, as well as another $70,000 transfer to the city's general fund for Parks and Recreation to put on Plaza events, and then about $11,000 for the operating expenses and insurance and other items that we have to undergo as part of the maintenance of the turfs. Next slide. You will see here just a chart documenting the tax increment values as they have continued to grow over the past now 20 years. And if you'll go to next slide, one of the things that if you had a chance to review the document prior to this meeting, you'll notice that it looks a little bit differently than previous years. We had a new employee within our Economic Development Department, John Soriano, has helped us revamp these TERS reports to make them a little bit more engaging and give some cool visuals. And this is an example of one of those visuals. It's just a chart that really shows the continued increase in value, captured value. The dark blue that you see climbing over the years is the captured value, and the lighter blue that's above that represents the total value, which is essentially your property value base, that $5.5 million property value base. You can see how that's continued to climb, and you even see the slight dip there during the Great Recession, but again, nice growth after that. Next slide. Over the past 20 years, we've received over $17 million in tax increment from the 3 taxing districts within the TERS. Next slide. And with that, staff recommends approval of the 2020 annual report to City Council. And again, upon council approval, which will likely occur in early January, copies will be sent to both the state comptroller and all of the taxing entities within the zone. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved, Jared.
Jared moved. Second?
I can second it. It's Robert.
Robert seconded. Any other questions? Any discussion? Okay,
Can
all
you
in
just please
favor?
read the full caption?
Yeah, can you put it back on the screen so I can read it?
Yes, 1 second.
Okay, let's.
Can we zoom in a little bit?
It's the annual report.
Okay, consideration and action on authorization on recommendation of the fiscal year 2020 annual report to the mayor and members of city council. Is that what you needed, Brad?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
Here, I believe that's all of the business for today.
Hey, anything further before we adjourn? I want to thank everyone for taking part, and we'll see you in 3 months, I guess. It'd be nice.
We need a motion. Yes, thank you.
Motion to adjourn and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Next second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Well, hopefully, the next meeting, maybe we could meet face to face. Or in person, I'll say in person.
Merry Christmas to all.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Thank you.
Everybody stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.